Hello, hi Simba.
Hi Muta, how are you?
Fine, thank you. How is the
I'm
evening?
can't complain, but hey, the code is just something else.
All right, we had someone who had joined us, but I think they got a bit impatient
Oh,
and they're back again.
oh, great.
Anyway, I guess our numbers will probably pick up. We can probably start. Good evening, everyone who has joined and is yet to join. Welcome to our first edition of Amcon Money Conversations, which are aimed at providing financial literacy to everybody. Our dream is that everyone is financially empowered is empowered to make good financial decisions and hopefully in the process engage us where you require assistance as well. So tonight our guest is Simbarashe Musukumizwa. Simba, you have a lot of titles. So I'm going to read them out lest I forget some of the things that some of the hats that you carry. So Simba is a digital entrepreneur. He's into investment consultancy. He's also a certified life coach, a financial therapist, a corporate trainer, and last but not least, an author. How are you doing, Simba, once again?
I'm good, thank you, Musa, and thank you for making me the first person on this important show.
No, thank you for agreeing to join us. It's indeed a true pleasure. So Simba, today we're talking about basically investments and savings.
Uh-huh.
I know it's something that we've noticed that a lot of people, especially in our generation and this day and age, we're really not into investing as well as saving. Maybe it's because of the economic hardships, etc. But as they say, time waits for no man. So one of these days, I was actually thinking about it. You know what? I really do not have much in savings, but soon, I'm getting to the age of retirement. Time does fly. At the moment, I'm in my late
Mhm.
20s, but when eventually I'm going to get there. And how can I make sure that I am well prepared? Maybe there are people actually still in their 30s, who are in their 30s or in their 40s, and they want to do the same thing. Is it ever too late to start, in your opinion?
In my opinion, it's never too late to start. The most important thing is to ensure that you have started. Um, you can't really say because at the end of the day of retirement will surely come, whether you are prepared or you are not. So that's one reality of life. So it's better to have 10% to be 10% ready than to be 0% ready for retirement. So I would say the sooner one realizes the need to plan for retirement, plan for the inheritance, even planning for leaving something for the little ones. The moment you realize that there's a need, that's when you have got to start.
Okay. Um, okay, as I said, in this day and age, we find out that a lot of people, or maybe my colleagues or people I have interacted with, they're really not into the idea of saving or investing. But when I'm thinking, growing up, our parents were so into that. What really changed? Is there a particular reason, maybe in your experience, why there's been a shift in thinking or a shift in mindset with regards to that?
I think it's most people have been banned with different investment vehicles. Talk of the 2009 era, the dollarization era. So people really have been banned, and they had really put something on the side. And at the end of the day, uh, when the economy dollarized and recalibrated, most people lost out. But then again, the question is, if you are to then stay in the past, then make the decision to say, if I have been banned before, I shouldn't invest from today going forward. That would be a bad move. That would be a bad decision. But you have got to look back and say, how did I lose out in the previous period, and how can I then maybe redirect my investments towards other channels. So, for example, in the current period, there is high inflation. We are in the period of of high inflation rates. So you've got to then look at what is available, then make a decision and in investing in assets which are somehow, not necessarily inflation proof, but at least which can hedge against inflation, rather than to outrightly say, I'm not going to invest, because a rainy day will surely come. You've got to have something aside.
I think, okay, speaking about hedging against inflation and all of that, what would, in your opinion, at this point in time, if I'm to come to you and say, Simba, you know what, I'm interested in putting some money aside, what should I look into when I'm making a particular decision, when I'm making such a decision?
Currently, if you check on the parallel market rate, versus the local currency, you would see that shares somehow track inflation. So I would say you have to consider the stock market. You have to consider investing in shares, or if you are investing in a fund of funds, or maybe if you are putting your money through be it a unit trust fund, you have to ensure that at least the underlying assets in that unitized fund should be shares or equities. That's number one. Then the other possibility will be property. So you can directly invest in property. You can buy a stand, or if you can't afford to buy a stand, rather invest in a fund which is invested in property. At least you know that at the end of the day, even if inflation is to go up, at least property will then follow the rate of inflation. So that's the beauty of those two assets. I would stay away from interest-bearing investments in this. That is, for example, money market. I would just reduce my holding of money market investments and then maybe increase on shares and properties, because at least you are guaranteed that they hedge against inflation.
When I was looking into this whole investment thing, I noticed that people tend to use, investment and saving interchangeably. So maybe just to clarify, is it the same thing when someone is talking about investing and when someone is talking about saving? Are we talking about the same thing, or are these two different things? Because for us, maybe we might be able to understand that, but to someone walking on the street, probably they've put their money in shares and they're saying, you know what, I'm saving my money. They're not understanding the concept of investing and the concept of saving. Are you able to elaborate that for us?
Yeah, definitely. Sometimes I think to most people it means basically the same thing. And before you invest, you've got to have put something aside. So the idea of just ensuring that possibly every month, if you are on a 9 to 5 job, let's say you are salaried, at the end of the month when you get your paycheck, you then deduct rent and all the other expenses. What is left is what you can then put aside for a rainy day, which is the saving. But if you then look at your saving, you can then make a decision of either investing it, that is putting it somewhere where it's growing. It can be in a business, it can be the examples of shares which we were giving, it can be in property. So whatever activity you engage in, which will then result in the money growing, it then becomes an investment. But saving is just putting money aside. That dedication and that principle of ensuring that every day, the moment you receive income, you are putting something aside.
Thanks for that, Simba. Something I found interesting, maybe people would want to also know when they're looking into investing and saving. I was told that I think when I was looking into it, someone then asked me, whether I am like my behavior profile when it comes to money. He asked me whether I'm someone, like, if I'm to lose 100, let's just say, okay, I have $1,000, right? And I decide to invest $500. And if I'm to lose 500, if I'm to lose $100 out of that $500, or for example, I put my money into shares, and the stock exchange results in me losing $100 of my $500. What will I do? And then, okay, I gave my answer. And then in turn, he then asked me, okay, so if the opposite were to happen, what would you do in terms of would you disinvest or invest? So I then asked, why are you asking all these questions? I was interested in the ZTC. And he said, no, for you to know which shares or maybe which investment you should direct your money towards, you need to know your risk profile. That not every investment is for everybody. You might go and buy maybe XX shares because they're the talk of the town today. But maybe with buying XX comes a high risk, or you might go into like this with the stock exchange, movement happens. You might decide to go and invest on the New York Stock Exchange where movements are basically happening maybe every minute. But if you're someone who really panics, it might not be the correct investment for you. You might want something maybe a bit more stable, like okay, I'm not really sure with regards to the property market behaviors in other countries, but it's something you might want to look into because if you're someone who just wants to get the rent on a monthly basis, it's probably a good profile for you. What are your thoughts with regards to that? Should one pick a side and stick to it, or it's worth crossing over? Maybe I may be someone who panics, but I'm hearing wow, with the ZSE for the past weeks or so has been really performing well. So I would want to take my money there and see how it goes.
Yeah, I think a lot of psychology comes into play when it comes to investments, especially when to exit and when to enter. So there's a bit of psychology that as an investor you need to deal with. Say if the ZTC is performing, of course you then have goosebumps and your income is increasing. So sometimes you might then at the end of the day not make a rational decision in either exiting or entering. So what I think is the best way to approach it is to have goals, investment goals, long term, short term, and medium term. And as you are doing that, also you need to pick. So if, for example, if it's a long term investment, you can actually afford to enter in high risk investments if your investment horizon is more on the longer term. For example, if the plan is to build a retirement fund and you are 25, you can actually afford to bet on risky assets because if you lose out, you can still recover. But let's say you want to buy a car in the next year, you can't afford to be invested in risky assets. So what I think is important is to have your goals well defined, so that, for example, if you want to buy a car in a year's time, possibly that if the market is the roof, you can quickly exit and crystallize your profits. But if possibly if you are on a long-term focused goal, you can stay in and maintain the investment and just smile because at least you know that your investments are protected and it's growing and you are meeting your planned return or your preferred return. So I think what is more critical and what is more important is to have your goals well defined, and those goals will also help you in profiling the risk. The longer term your goal, the higher the risk you can actually accept.
Okay. Thanks for that, Simba. I think it's really enlightening because for some of us, we really don't know what to look at when we are looking at a particular vehicle. And maybe with regards to goals as well. Someone also told me that when you're saving, you usually need to know why you're saving or why you're investing. What's the ultimate goal? As you rightfully put it, is it long term? Maybe for retirement? Is it for short term? For example, to buy a car or to grow your business. So I think that really does put some of the things into perspective because a lot of us do not really understand that. So I think what do we say to the person who, things are tough these days, and they're telling us, you know what, you guys, you're talking about investing, you're talking about saving. Unfortunately, I'm getting X amount of money every month. I cannot afford to put money towards saving. And I guess, yeah, I cannot afford to put money towards saving, but it's something I'm interested in. Where exactly can people start? Are there vehicles for maybe someone who does not have a lot of money, but can afford to maybe put a few dollars aside on a monthly basis? Maybe there's no lump sum, but maybe I can afford to take $1 out of my money and direct it towards a particular venture so that I can build up something eventually.
Yes, those vehicles they do exist, but I think the starting point is the mindset. Because what I think
Mm,
is savings really it's an issue of the mind. You know, when it comes to money, there really isn't enough. You know, in Shona they say "Mari haifai yakakwana," so you can
yeah,
never really
true.
say I've had enough of money. You are still going
Mm,
to need more. So what I think works is to ensure that at least you take away whatever you'd have decided to save before you even spend. I think in the book, is it The Wealth Bubble or The Richest Man in Babylon, where the
oh
author
yeah,
says
British finance. Mm,
a part
it's a
of
good
what I
one.
earn
Good
is
one.
a
Mm,
part of what I earn is mine to
it's
keep.
mine. Mm,
So I believe you have to have that discipline to say, before I even spend my $100, I take $10 away. For those
mm,
of the faith, I think the concept of tithe really tries to teach us to save. I think that's what our higher power, our Lord, our God was actually also trying to teach us to say, you know what, before you even spend your money, you have to learn
mm,
to put something away and just save. So I think it's an issue of the mind. And the moment you know that if my income is $100, but you then maybe recalibrate your mind to an understanding that you are no longer earning $100, but you are earning 90 or you are earning 80. So that
mm,
other 20 which you take away, it's no longer part of your budget. I think that way you will be able to save. So I believe if we are to have that mindset, we quickly eliminate the concept of not having enough to save. Then on your question, back to your question, are there investment vehicles where one can invest on a low budget? Yes, they exist. You can find unitized investment vehicles, like they break down property into units. Let's say you want to invest in properties,
mm,
then the whole property is then broken down into smaller units. Maybe each unit can then be $1. So you are just
mm,
if you buy $1, if you buy a unit, let's say a unit is $1, so you are now participating in that fund. So if the property prices increase, your units will also move from $1 to $1.50 to $2, $3. So almost all banks or financial institutions, they do have unitized investment vehicles. So those are available, the options are there. And what you can then do is, as you amass more income, or as your investment grows, you can then withdraw
mm,
from that unitized fund, then directly invest in a particular um, investment of your choice, either be it directly buying a property, directly investing
mm.
on the stock exchange, but at least a unitized investment fund gives you a starting point with low investment. I think from as small as $10, you are able to find an investment fund.
$10, you mean 10 bond, right? Or rather
Yes,
RTGs.
yeah, yeah,
No,
10
just to
RTGs.
clarify. Just to clarify. Thanks so much, Peter. But I think, for example, with unit trusts, really, I think a lot of people are not aware that there's such vehicles on the line. When you think on the market, when you think about investing, you're thinking about maybe the whole share issue. You have to go and do this. It's such a complicated process. And yet they don't know that, for $10 a month, you can actually just transfer the money. And at the end of the month, you're told, okay, you have maybe 100 units, for example, that are at the moment standing at this amount. So thank you so much for that. And as well as the issue of it all being a mind in the mind. I think I also read The Richest Man in Babylon, and it's actually one of my favorite books when it comes to money, because it's so simple and easy to understand. I think one thing that stood out when they say, I think that's actually the one that the phrase that sticks in my mind. That's what a part of what I earned is mine to keep. And I think he makes mention of 10%, that if you can, like every month, just make it a must to put 10% aside, 10% of what you earn. As it grows, as it compounds, you'll end up finding out that, you can actually do a lot of things with that money at the end of the year. If you're putting aside $10 every month, at the end of the year, you have $120 that you actually didn't, not, okay, you had it before, but now at least you can actually do more with it. If it's to direct it towards your business, maybe start something up, at least it's something. So I guess with the knowledge that you have given us with pertaining to unit trust as well as other sources of other investment lines, we are definitely empowered to do so. So Simba, in your line as a coach, etc., with regards to money, what are the main issues that you've come across? Where are we getting it wrong, especially us as young people? I think maybe a lot of people look at their lives at this point in time. I think of the song Yawinki D25, when everyone hits 25, they're like, I thought I would be this, I got such that shit. But where are is it that we are okay? Not that I'm saying we are getting it wrong, but in your view, what can we do to change the trajectory, to change our direction, and make the fortunes turn in our favor with regards to this money game? I think that's what a lot of people are wondering at this point in time.
Yeah, I think most of us from a theoretical point of view, we all know that we have got to save. We all know that we've got to set money aside. It's just like when one is buying a car, you get advice from people and they will tell you, this car is a fuel guzzler and you need to buy a fuel saver and an economic car, etc. Then whilst you are home, you then taking that advice, and as you are moving with your money to the car dealer, you are assured that you are going to buy a car which is not more than 1.3 liter. But what happens when you are at the car dealers?
I know. Yeah. I think I've been guilty of doing that, not with a car dealer, but with even small things like grocery. I end up buying
exactly. Or when you're at the till, then those shelves by the till, and your hand is like, and you are really struggling. You are struggling to say, should I take or should I not? Should I take or should I not? So it's in coaching we call it the illusion of control, whereby we think we are really in control of our finances, but you'll find that the subconscious mind then rules at the end of the day, and it really decides what you are going to do. So at the end of the day, you enter into a supermarket, and before you know it, you would have blown 5,000, 6,000. But when you got in there, your target was not to spend more than 2,000, as an example.
True.
So what I think is critical is, if you have got a target which you want to achieve, try to have an image of it, a picture of it in your house, just by the door, the mirror, so that you are always seeing it. So what that does is, when you are now in the shop and be it a pie, a donut, or something which then affect your savings plan. That picture will be more vivid than whatever you'll be seeing in the supermarket. So it's really a game of the conscious versus the subconscious mind. But
Okay,
the
so
bad part
it's all in
is
the mind.
so I think having a vivid picture, having a vision board, that's what most people call it. If you can have a vision board of what you want to achieve, if it's an amount you want to reach, just have a big picture in bold, a big number in bold, which is written maybe 10,000. If 10,000 is your goal, then just write 10,000 USD. If it's 50,000, just write 50,000 USD, where you will always be seeing, because the struggle really is real, and at the end of the day, the subconscious mind wins.
You know what? When you're talking about putting an image where you can see it, I just thought of a funny story. It's funny now, but at that point in time, I was really serious about it. So I made my vision board and I printed out, a fake check from the internet. I cut it out properly, and I had an amount that I wanted to be earning per month, be it from business, whatever. It was the total amount that I wanted per month. Yeah, by the end of the year, I should have, let's just say it was $500. I just wrote $500, guys. This whole chaos had started. Then I put it beside my bed together with everything else on my vision board. So at the end of the year, I was now going through my my vision board just to see, like, what had I accomplished, all of that. And then I realized that due to inflation, I had surpassed that target. So it's important to specify. Now I realize that they tell you to be specific. If it's US dollars, put US dollars. Do not
Exactly.
leave it as an open blanket. But I reached, okay, in theory, I reached my goal, but honestly speaking, that money now is nothing.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I agree.
it's something we need to think about. And then, okay, something I'm not forgetting, but there's something that actually came to mind when we were talking about the whole, when you get into a shop or when you're going to buy a car, you end up buying something that is more expensive or something that you did not plan for. I think there's also this concept, when I was just reading around, the "you only live once" concept as well. Is the young generation. I don't know if we're still young, but yeah, anyway. Is the young generation, there's a saying, you only live once. So when you're in your 20s, it's only now when I'm actually looking back, when I'm in my late 20s, I'm like, you know what? I started working when I was 19. I had all this time to probably save and build towards something, but I didn't. Because usually when you're in your 20s, you're thinking, I have a lot of time to do that. But it's only now that I realize, you know what? I actually
Time
don't
is
have
gone,
as much
yeah.
time as I thought. And you look around and you see, wow, the people who had started these initiatives when they were still young are somewhere, not better is per se, but they're somewhere. Of course, there's time to catch up. But now for me to catch up with regards to my savings, I need to put in more effort than I would have needed to put when I was still 19 or when I was still 20 years old. So it's really important to start. And when you're older, I guess that's when you become very conscious about these things, because you're thinking, wow, what am I going to leave my children? What am I going to do this? But when you're 20, you're thinking, YOLO, I only live once. I can afford to do this.
Yeah,
I'll do a
true,
bit
true.
tomorrow. Retirement is coming in 40 something years, and there's no reason for me to rush. Why rush? So I guess that's also there's a bit of a culture difference between my mom and me, because when I think about it, the things that I used to spend my money on, and my mom would be like, do you really need that?
Need it.
But maybe it's an issue yokuthi kukura kwacho nakwati siyane. These days it's more about the bloom. It's more about, at times you want to look good, you want to feel good, and you want everyone to see kuti panapa mutakachena. But in actual fact, you can't afford it.
Yeah, true.
So it was just something that came to mind, which, it's probably the issue of facing people as well. But as you grow older, you realize a lot of these things don't matter. What really matters now is really what have you put aside, what have you managed to leave, and what legacy have you made for your children.
Yeah. And as you are saying that as well, one of my my mentors, is called Dion, the guy who taught me to be a coach. So he would say, he would make you lift your phone, and then he would ask, how many, how much did your phone cost, and how many functions do you use on that phone? So you'll probably find that even I think for most people we use less than maybe less than 10% of the phone's functionality, and maybe if you are that good, and if you're a heavy user, maybe up to 50% or something like that. So you'd find that sometimes we are buying things to impress people who don't even know us, and things like those. But those things, they happen not because we want to, but sometimes it's then ingrained in our subconscious, like right when we were still at school, whereby we wanted to impress our friends, etc. And it then goes on and on and on. So at a conscious level, you then have to ask yourself to say, do I really need to be buying this and buying that? And like you rightly said, and I believe at the end of the day, if you are to have your targets, let's say maybe you have the three most important things you want to achieve, say in 20 years, then you break them down to from 20 years. So you then put milestones to say, for me to reach this target in 20 years, what should I be doing? What should I have done in 5 years? Then break it down to 3 years, 2 years, to this month, to today. So you can then break it down to today, and you can actually know with certainty that for me to be able to have achieved 1 million in 20 years, this is how I should live today, and this is how I should spend my time. This is how I should spend my money, and things like those. Then the other thing which I feel also helps is to have a a more like a towards kind of feeling, whereby you really have to be in sync with whatever your goal is, to really fall in love with it enough to push away any other uh, distractions that can then come along the way. So if your target is to say, I want to buy a house in the next 5 years or something like that, like you really have to love it and want it so much that even if someone comes and says, I'm selling this Mercedes Benz, and then you can just push it aside and say, I've got a goal which I'm running
A bit
towards.
of goal. I'm thinking, so you know what? I think, okay, allow me to say this in the vernacular. Vanhu verudzi rwedu zvakasiyana manje. Because, okay, I'm thinking with Zoni, I wasn't born with generational wealth.
Yeah.
I guess maybe when people tend to think, vazhinji kwete vese, but when they get money, vanotaka, you get used to money. You get what I mean? It's old. There's the term old money referring to generational wealth. Sekuru vasekuru vanga vane mari. He had money. Your grandfather had money. Your father had money. You are likely to have money. But for some of us, me and you, most of the people like us, we do not have, unfortunately, we do not have that privilege of generational wealth. So we're actually at a starting point. We're actually starting to build. So when you get new money or when you get something, there's always that urge to, to splurge a bit. Is there anything wrong with that?
No.
Concept, fine, we have to save, we have to do this. But you know what? I also want to enjoy my money a bit. Can I splurge? Or should I tighten the reins? Because there's that. I think there are a lot of issues that are affecting us as well. Besides that whole new money and not having generational wealth, I think we're actually at a point to we're actually starting. Most of us are starting to build generational wealth. A lot of people were not fortunate enough to have parents who could leave them houses, who could leave them businesses. So the playing field is rather different. I'm sure there maybe there are a lot of new entrepreneurs who are going to see this video and they're wondering, you know what you're saying, I understand that. But at this point in time, I'm the first person in my family to maybe have a master's degree or maybe to even graduate. I'm the first person in my family to have a business. And when I started this business, my family wasn't supportive because they wanted me to, get an education, then take the work route. So now I have money and I want to buy my car. Why can't I buy my car? Because I've worked hard for this car. If you get where I'm coming from.
Yes, I get you.
And then there's also the issue of black tax as well. As I said, we do not have generational wealth. And I guess growing up in our, we find out, I'm sure maybe everybody has a relative or even someone closer to them. I noticed when I reached maybe standard 5 or so, I had to then leave work so that I could fend for my family, so that I could fend for my brothers and sisters so that they could go to school. So being black tax, and even to this day, the people vekuti zvoni anenge achitoziva kuti kana angograduata chete kumba uko vari kutoti mukoma zvavo zvaita, it's your first degree. Havasitomboita zvese izvi kuti things are not the way they were.
Things are hard,
years ago. Things are hard, and they have vanhu vakawanda vekuchengeta apa mabasa ari kunetsa, and they want. And they're thinking, fine, this sounds good and it makes a lot of sense at this point in time. But I simply cannot afford to do this because I have Vanakawanda, they could change it. What exactly can we say to people like that? Because it's real. And munanenge achitoziva kuti panongopera mwedzi kana kuti panopera term ndofanira kubhadhara fees yanhingi asati atombone vana vake achitombotaura nezvevanin'ina nezvehanzvadzi dzake so that they pay, so that he has to take care of because of circumstances. So do you think that these are things that are hindering people as well with regards to savings, with regards to investing? I don't know, have you ever come across things like that in your line?
Yes, I have. And also even on a personal note where you then look at yourself and really see that the money you have, you really can't do much. But one of my favorite sayings is little inches swing big doors. So with the little that you have, if you really think deep and think hard, you always find something to do with it. Sometimes it might not necessarily be investing in saving the actual money and investing it in the different assets we were talking about, but you can actually invest in a skill. So you can do a course, a course yekugadzira sipo, for example. So maybe the money that you have is not enough to put on the stock exchange. Why can't you then maybe invest in a skill like soap making? Then you start making from home. Otangogadzira sipo dzeyakumba otanga kutengesa, and you start earning more money that you can then invest in those different investment vehicles. So I think when it comes to the issue of savings, there are two things which you can do. Number one is you can either reduce your expenses or increase your income. So if you can't reduce your expenses, look for ways to increase your income. And you can also look at your natural skills. What natural skills do I have? Am I good at singing, for example? If you're a musician or maybe you used to sing at church, in choir, etc., you can go on Fiverr, fiverr.com. Then you can sell your skill there, your singing skill, and make money. There are a lot of people who are looking for beautiful voices, and you can then start increasing your top line. That is if you are overburdened with the expenses. Sometimes it actually pushes us to think deep, think hard, and it can actually be the breakthrough to a new company, to a new Olivin. It can actually be the birth of a new multinational company, just by coming from that difficult space where you are laden with a lot of expenses.
Thank you for that, Simba. So I guess, as you've put it, it's important to start. No matter where you are, you just need to start somewhere.
You just have to start, and you don't have to get it right. You just have to get it going, get started, and the marketplace will give you feedback to make it better. So I think this issue of investments, sometimes it's not necessarily, we don't have to look at it from a financial perspective, depending with the place you are at in life. So you can be in a space or a place where investing in these financial instruments won't make sense. Why not invest in yourself and build your capacity to earn more and make more money? And investing in yourself or investing in learning doesn't necessarily mean going to a university or enrolling for a diploma or something like that. You can actually invest in a skill which can make you money within days.
Oh, thanks, Simba. That's a new dimension, a new line of thought that we hadn't introduced. That, you know what, you don't necessarily have to take money and put it somewhere else. Put it in yourself. Thanks
Definitely.
for that dimension. I don't know if do we have any. If anyone has any questions, you can put them, and Simba can answer. If not, Simba, do you have anything else to add for us, or maybe anything you'd like to just share?
I was just looking at the comments, and I was hoping there could be a question, but I'm not seeing any question. It could have been it would have been great to just answer a few questions from our from the followers and from the people who are following this discussion.
Okay. Maybe if there are no questions at the moment, if any come through, I'll direct them to you and we can see how we can handle them.
Not a problem. Not a problem.
All right. Simba, I'm sure maybe some people currently viewing and who are probably going to view in the future would want to know how they can get in contact with you, what services you offer, etc. Can you please provide us with those as well?
Oh, okay. So I do investment consultancy, retirement planning and counseling, and pension investment, how to structure your personal pension plan, and anything related to that. I also run a digital organization called Zim Investors. So be it on Twitter, Facebook, if you just Google Zim Investors, you then come across my profile. Then you can also go on www.ziminvestors.com. That's our main website. What we do there is we just give people ideas and just try to shift paradigms and show people different things which they can actually do in Zimbabwe, opportunities they can exploit. So go there, and if you are interested in some of the ideas there, we've got some consultants in the background, be it agriculture, even under agriculture, things like horticulture, beef rearing, poultry, etc. We've got different experts who then guide you step by step in ensuring that your project succeeds.
Nice. Thank you so much, Simba, for joining us today and being our first guest. I hope this is not the first and last time. We'll definitely be invited.
Over and above that, I'm a certified life coach.
So if you're interested in contacting Simba, or as I said, he wears many hats. Simba, did you give people? Okay, you told them to go to Zim Investors, so I guess that's a starting point. And unless if you want to give them your email.
Yeah, my email is gsimbarashi@gmail.com. gsimbarashi@gmail.com. Then my number is 0713 367 915. 0713 367 915. So those are my contacts. So they either my email, even any of my social handles. Zim investors across all platforms, be it Facebook or Twitter or Instagram.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thanks again, Simba, for joining us. And a special thank you to Gigadels Marketing for designing our flyer. Please contact Gigadels in the event that you need marketing material, etc. They do a very, very good job. Thank you so much to our viewers who have joined us this evening. It was a pleasure hosting you for our first edition of Amcon Money Conversations, and we're looking forward to having many more conversations with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Musa.
All right.